One day last year, Lynn, the boss, Lynn, sent me on an assignment. She said, "Go down to Columbia HeadStart," and I went down there and I met just about maybe it was 60, 70 versions of my grandsons, and it was a wonderful day. And I think you all know the two words. I call them two words: a sequester, and what its effects have been on a whole lot of things. But what we don't know is what its effects have been on childcare and on daycare. And so that's why today I have with me Cindy Andrus, the director of Columbia County Head Start, and Tina Sharp, the executive director of Columbia Opportunities, and Deb Snyder, who is one of the parents involved on their board. And they're all here today. We're going to talk about Columbia County Head Start. We're going to talk about the impact of the sequester, things that are important to you and I and that affect us all. So without further ado, and the boss, Lynn Sloneker, my station manager and blogger superior, is also here with us. So, ladies, if you will introduce yourself before you speak, and let's start off with tell me a brief description of Columbia Opportunities and the Columbia Head Start program.
Okay, well, I'm Tina Sharp. I'm the executive director of Columbia Opportunities. We are a community action agency and provide a wide range of programs, services, and activities to families who have low income in our communities. Head Start is one of our biggest programs, and we have been actually providing services in this community now for 35 years. Because most of our programs are federally funded, we are being affected by sequestration. Also, some people refer to it as the Budget Control Act of 2011. Sequestration actually went into effect on March 1st, and Columbia Opportunities has had to develop some plans to accommodate those cuts. What people might not understand is sequestration is actually canceling contracts that were already in place, reducing the amount of funds that are available to support those activities. And for organizations such as Columbia Opportunities, we're talking about retroactive cuts that really go back now to either October 1st or November 1st of 2012. And so it's probably one of the biggest nightmares that we've ever had to ever encountered, and we're having to make some very drastic cuts and reductions in services to families in our community.
Now, you mentioned that you have to, the cuts come to contracts that are already in effect.
Correct.
So, folks, that means that if you are Joe's printing shop over on 2nd Avenue and you had a contract, you lost it. And your employees lost it. So I just wanted to stick my 2 cents in so that you understand that this affects more than just the low-income mom and dad who are using their services.
That's correct.
Go ahead.
So I think, Lynn, you wanted to just say a couple of words.
Yeah, actually, I did want listeners to know that I am the recent past president or chair of the board of directors, Columbia Opportunities. I served there as a mayoral appointee for about, 5 years, 6 years? Yeah. and I was actually on the board that approved these cuts.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted everybody to know that in full disclosure that I have been involved. But I do think it would be helpful if people, I don't know what more you wanted to say by way of intro, but maybe you could explain what the retroactive piece does to the program and what that means for the rest of the school year. It's not like something that's put off until next fall.
Correct, yeah. So these cuts are affecting funds that were included in the 2013 federal budget. And so depending on when your grant year started would determine when you actually had to start implementing these cuts. So we were notified on March 1st that we had to reduce our Head Start program budget by 5%. And since the program started November 1st for us, we actually have to absorb these cuts in less than 6 months. We're talking about a $70,000 reduction in our operating budget for the Head Start program, and we have to make those cuts over a period of 5 to 6 months. And so we can't, we've already obligated some of the funds. We've already spent some of the funds. We can't take those funds back. So we have to. It's a very compressed time frame, and so we're talking about $70,000 in a period of 5 to 6 months. And because we've been operating on such a tight budget for so long, we don't have any more fat to trim. So we're really right down to the bone, and the biggest cuts are going to be felt by our staff. Almost every Head Start employee is going to see their schedule reduced. Most people are going to be cut back 5 hours a week, which doesn't sound like an awful lot perhaps, but it certainly has a big impact on people's pocketbooks. And then that also means that children that are enrolled in our program are going to have, for most children, will have one less day of program activity. And this is coming at a time when we're really ramped up to help prepare children to be ready for kindergarten, and we all know how important that is, and we're going to be having to cut back on that direct service.
Yeah, and just by way of clarification, I did want to say, Phil, that Head Start is not daycare. It's not child care. It's preschool. And that is a key point that Tina's making about what the program is intended to do. Now they've ratcheted up the accountability piece, so there's a lot of pressure on these programs to produce kindergarten-ready kids. So it's a lot more. It's not fun made easy.
Right. So for folks like me, that's the difference is that daycare is daycare, but Head Start is getting children ready for kindergarten.
Right. And I would have to say that a number of the families that are enrolled in our Head Start program do use Head Start as at least part of their everyday child care solution, so that they can go to school, go to work, and be active and contributing members of our community. And so while it's not the sole purpose is not that of daycare, it does actually fill a big child care void that does exist in this community. So you're both right.
Yeah, with so many families that have both parents working, one and a half, and 2 jobs, I guess it does serve that purpose also.
Absolutely, it's part of a patchwork quilt of child care.
We have a parent with us also today, Miss Debbie Snyder, and can you just tell us a little bit about your activities with the organization?
Yes, I am Debbie. This is my 6th year as a parent for Head Start, and as of yesterday, my daughter had her classroom cut, so she did not attend class yesterday, which costed me money for childcare for that day, because not only does the program educate these children, they do help. I go to school all day, and for her not to be in the Head Start program, I had to pay for childcare, and finding good quality childcare is hard. I cannot promise that my child will have the meals that they get while attending Head Start. I can't be sure my child will have the education that she gets while she's at Head Start. My 2 oldest children actually went to kindergarten and was above and beyond in their reading. They still to this day have great reading, and I relate all that back from Head Start. Head Start started with my children, and their school and their academic and their reading has been phenomenal. And I am worried that the future children to come in are not going to get this. They're not going to have that chance to have that education from Head Start. And this is my daughter's last year in Head Start, but what about the children next year? They're not going to have all them activities that they did have because of the cuts.
And Debbie, you are an active participant in the program in one of the organizations, correct?
Correct. I sit on the policy council. I'm the chairperson.
Maybe you should explain the structure.
Head Start is unique in the world of preschool because not only do we ask the parents to be involved in their own child's education, we have a group of parents that's elected from all of the sites across Columbia County that come together on a monthly basis to help us make decisions about the program. And they make some very important decisions on an annual basis. They help us decide where program services will be delivered, what kinds of schedules children will have, who are the people that will be working with their children. So in Head Start, parents are a very important part of helping us make decisions. And unfortunately, this year we've had to ask them to be involved in some very difficult decisions in terms of how do we reduce program services and still try to provide preschool education for the children in our program.
So you're actually having to decide what you're going to drop, basically. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
That must be heart-wrenching.
Yes. Our families are all very low income. To qualify for Head Start, at least 90% of our families are living at or below the poverty level. They don't have a lot of extra resources for additional child care. When children come to Head Start for a full day, they normally receive breakfast and lunch. The children who didn't come to Head Start yesterday didn't receive those meals from us. So that's another financial difficulty for their parents who are already struggling to make ends meet.
Well, folks, if you just tuned in, you're listening to the WGXC Morning Show, and today our guest, our Executive Director of Columbia Opportunities, Cindy Andrus, and the Director of Columbia Head Start, wait a minute, Tina Sharp, the Executive Director of Columbia Opportunities, and Cindy Andrus, the Director of the Columbia County Head Start, and along with Debbie Snyder, one of the parents and the Chair of the Policy Council, and our own Lynn Sloneker. And we're talking about the effects of the sequester is having on the Head Start programs. And it seems that some gut-wrenching decisions have to be made. Does it go as far as actually excluding a child or not being able to take a child in?
Well, one of the things that we set out to do in working with the Policy Council and the Board of Directors, and in also trying to follow some guidance issued by the Department of Health and Human Services, is we tried to come up with a plan that would not affect children and families that were currently enrolled, as opposed to just dropping a classroom. For example, we made the decision that we would reduce the schedule for pretty much all of the families so that at least families would continue to receive this Head Start experience, and that we wouldn't be literally closing the doors on children and families that were already enrolled or had started with us back in September. We have, however, made the decision to not fill any vacancies. So normally if a child leaves the Head Start program because they've moved or because the schedule doesn't work for the family anymore, we have a waiting list of children and families that are ready to participate in Head Start, and so we have closed the opportunity for those families on the waiting list. So we won't be filling any vacancies. And as of this particular, as of today, we do have 5 vacant slots that we're not going to fill, and we won't be really enrolling any new children in the program until September. And that enrollment may be limited as compared to what it is today.
2 questions. From what I gather, watching the national news, what is going on with you is not unusual. It's happening all over Greene and Columbia County and all over the nation. Is that correct?
In terms of Head Start programs, certainly in other federally funded programs, it is absolutely correct. We estimate that on a national level that some 70,000 children will lose the Head Start experience as a result of these cuts to the Head Start program.
Now let's get down to the nitty-gritty. I'm sitting in my living room in Cooksaki, and I'm saying, doggone it, what's this all about? I want to find out more information, or I want to know where I can get some details, or who I can talk to. Where does the average person go for more information, or to express their opinion?
In terms of information on the cuts to the Head Start program, probably one of the most comprehensive places you can turn to is the National Head Start Association website. It's www.nhsa.org. And that the National Association has put together a lot of information about Head Start programs around the country, the value of the programs, and they do have information on the effects of sequestration, and they do offer some suggestions as to what people might be, who are concerned about this, as to what they might be able to do.
And that's called the National Association of...
National Head Start Association.
National Head Start Association, NHSA. NHSA.org. NHSA.org. And there they can find out information, and they can find out where they can go if they want to help out.
Yes.
Are there any other sources anywhere for funding that are being offered, or that you are hoping will come along if Congress decides to do something else? Is there any sunlight on the horizon?
Well, the Head Start program is already a very strong partnership between the community and the federally funded, the federal funds that we receive through the Department of Health and Human Services. Cindy, what's the ratios that we have to maintain in terms of community support?
Every year we're required to match our federal funds with 20% local contributions, which can be money or also goods and services. A lot of that is actually volunteer time.
And so we are absolutely looking for additional sources of revenue to help support the continued operation of the program. And we're doing that at a time when there are a number of other organizations looking for that same type of private support.
Yes, it's the funding conundrum. But let's just say that funding-wise, I want to help this group out. Where would I go?
Well, Columbia Opportunities is a private, not-for-profit organization, and we do gratefully accept financial contributions from individuals, businesses, foundations, and if anybody would like to offer some financial support, they can contact me directly at 518-828-4611. They can also make out a check to Columbia Opportunities Head Start and mail it to our main office at 540 Columbia Street in Hudson, New York.
We're going to get you to repeat that, because on cue, as I told you, the CXX comes through. This is what live radio is all about. You're listening to the WGXC Morning Show. Philip on the radio.
You who are on the road must have a code that you can live by, and so become yourself, because the past is just a goodbye. Teach your children well, their father's hell did slowly go by, and feed them on your dreams, the one they picked, the one you know by. Don't you ever ask them why, if they told you you would cry. So just look at them and sigh, and know they love you.
Teach your children well, Crosby, Stills, and Nash. This is the WGXC Morning Show, Phillips on your radio, and we have some exciting guests here today. Tina Sharp, the Executive Director of Columbia Opportunity, and Cindy Andrus, the Director of Columbia County Head Start, along with one of the parents, Debbie Schneider, who is the Chairperson of the Policy Council, and the boss, Lynn Sloneker, an education blogger, is here, and we're talking. We have been talking about the effects of the sequester on the Head Start program, and I wanted to conclude by getting down to the nuts and bolts. What, who's being affected? How are they being affected? What are and other people should know.
We have Head Start classrooms in several locations across Columbia County. And in most of our sites, we have had to reduce service hours so that several of our classrooms are going to be closed on Monday for the rest of the school year. This includes the 2 Head Start classrooms located at John L. Edwards Primary School in Hudson, as well as our 5-day classes at 540 Columbia Street in Hudson. We also have a classroom in the village of Philmont and in the Chatham School, and both of those classrooms will be closed on Mondays for the rest of the school year. Our site at Taconic Hills is still open 5 days due to an arrangement we have with the pre-K of that district, but we have had to reduce staff hours there. And so that, as Debbie said earlier, the families do have one less day of service for the rest of the year, and we will be closing 2 days earlier than we had planned, so that the kids will be starting their summer break 2 days earlier than we had anticipated.
Wow. So this, every time you have a closing, that affects a parent or parents in some way. They have to change around their schedule to make up for what they used to do.
Right. We currently have 141 children enrolled, so that when our classrooms are closed, all of their parents have to make arrangements for childcare as well as provide meals for them, because they're not receiving the meals that Head Start would be serving.
All right. Is there anything else that either of you ladies would like to add, or you, Lynn?
No, I know this is extremely difficult for the families we serve. It's been extremely difficult for the staff who work so hard to provide quality programming. We really regret that it is necessary to make these cuts, and I can just assure you that we're really doing the best that we can. And you were talking about if people were interested in offering some type of financial support to offset the loss of these funds. We're losing $70,000. That's a lot of funds. But we are a private not-for-profit organization, and we can accept contributions from individuals, businesses, and we would gratefully put those funds towards the Head Start program.
And can we repeat again how they would get those funds to you?
People can simply write a check to Columbia Opportunities. They can earmark it for Head Start or any other one of our programs that we offer in the community. Our address is 540 Columbia Street in Hudson, New York, 12534. And if someone wants to speak directly with me about this, my name is Tina Sharp, and my telephone number is 828-4611, and I'd be happy to talk about how individuals and businesses can help support the program.
And if they want to find out more information, or if you want to express your opinion about this, you can go to the website, the National Association of Head Start.
National Head Start
National Head Start Association. I'm going to get it right pretty soon. National Head Start Association, which is nhsa.org, to find out more information. So we been talking to Tina Sharp, the Executive Director of Columbia Opportunities, Cindy Andrus, the Director of Columbia County Head Start, and one of the parents, Debbie Schneider, who's the chairperson on the Policy Council, about the effects of the sequester. And just to repeat once again, because this is a point that really needs to be driven home, when you talk about trickle down, every time funding is pulled from any type of organization, there is a direct and indirect effect on other people. So in other words, when Debbie, who is not taking her child to school on a particular day, that's one less cup of coffee that she's buying at Joe's coffee shop. There is an effect, folks. It really does exist. There is a trickle down. When they're not at the school, then the school is not hiring a custodian that day. Somebody is affected by these cuts. It doesn't just affect the children. It's a trickle down. So I just would hope that you remember that in the course, because we seem so divided these days, where we decide that, well, that's their problem, it's not mine. Well, it could be your problem. It could be your problem if you're affected indirectly by the school being closed. Ladies, thank you very much for coming down. It has been an honor. Let's continue on. You're listening to WGXC 90.7 FM, streaming live on WGXC.org. Philip is on your radio.